Good morning. As you heard, my name is Fawzi Abdulrazak. It's Arabic name for a Turkmen, but that is the tradition among the Ottoman Turks. And before I start, I would like to thank Mohammed and ISIS for inviting me. They invited me about, I would say, 2-3 months ago, and I just wrote this paper in haste, but nevertheless, it will give you some ideas about the beginning of MELA and who was behind it, the leaders, the founders, and so on. My speech is based on 3 basic points. Number 1, I will tell you a little bit about the history of MELA, and then I will talk about my activities under the light of MELA bylaws, as it was envisioned by the founders. And I hope you guys will stick to that. I know some of you want to go out of it. Feels like ice cream cone. And as I talk about my activities, you will know that my supervisor at Harvard, who was the architect of creating MELA, had in mind, I didn't honestly know that. I was just hired in 1972, the year MELA was established. And there are 2 people who were behind it. Number 1, Dr. David Partington. Partington was graduated from Harvard, from Princeton University, and he was a Turkish cataloger there. At the time when Rudolf Mach was at Princeton, I know he admired Rudolf Mach a lot, and he told me many stories about it. The same I heard from Eric Ormsby, who was the librarian at Princeton. David Partington, after Princeton, went to University of Michigan. And there, people, early leaders like John Iles, Bruce Gregg, were working for him. And when he came to Harvard from University of Michigan, he hired Leslie Wilkins, whose original name is Martha Dukas. And he hired me and hired a bunch of others in Middle Eastern studies. Almost all of them were scholarly type, except Leslie. She combined scholarly with MLS, degree in library science. The day I went to Harvard in 1972, I went to meet Professor Mohsen Mehdi. He's from Iraq. He's interested in Arabic literature, philosophy, and I didn't know until later on he was also interested in Alf Layla wa Layla. His interests were very similar to mine. I studied in Sharia school, Islamic studies, Arabic studies, some civil law. And then when I was growing up, I was heavily influenced by neighbor, a mullah who was imam of the neighborhood. His name is Mullah Ahmed. I'll never forget him. And what attracted me to Mullah Ahmed was his style in talking about the tale of the prophets, Qisasul Anbiya. At home, I would listen to my mother in particular, telling us stories from 1001 Night. I was fascinated by all these stories. So here I come to Harvard. I find myself, one of the earliest books I opened, I smell the same musty, acidy smell from the yellow book. Anyway, I was hired and I did not realize what was waiting for me. Partington took upon himself to train me in cataloging. After cataloging, he introduced me to PL480 accession list. And he wanted me to make bibliographies like that. The PL480 accession list covered only Lebanon, only Egypt and Lebanon, and little from here and there. So what happened? He wanted me to make a bibliography, and I suggested to him, I will expand it to include other Arab countries, so that American scholars, and this was his idea too, American scholars in Middle East studies will benefit from it because they are very much interested in this subject. So this was the beginning of me preparing Arabic historical writing, 1973. You can see the leadership of Dr. Partington. The minute I gave him the manuscript, he typed the whole thing himself. He revised my English. He took it to Harvard printing office. It was printed there. He sent copies to various scholars, and they wrote reviews. As I look back, I say, oh my God, this guy wants to disseminate knowledge and make Middle Eastern books available to American scholars. This was one of his visions. With his encouragement, I did 2 more volumes. And after that, he was also present, suggesting that I will do the Arabic collection catalog, which is in 6 volumes. Some of you probably know it, like 4,000 pages, folios. I was so impressed with my leader and his love of books, his love of helping. I worked day and night, weekends. It took several years. There were 29 to 30,000 titles. I had to review all on card. We are the generation of the card catalog. And the total number of cards in that catalog is over 90,000. I had to review them once, twice, so that they will be ready. And it was published, as you all know, at G.K. Holland in Boston. This is one aspect of the influence he had on me, doing bibliographies. Then he had other influence on me, like in the area of acquisition. I was in a meeting like this, and there was a discussion. A professor from Toronto University in Ottoman history, his name is Al-Azhar Brimbaum. He was advising the librarians to recruit young librarians, train them, send them overseas to buy books. At that time, no other university really had too many books from outside Egypt and Lebanon, except some of the books Mohammed Suleiman was selling in his list, but very little. And I immediately was interested. And after the lecture, librarians came to me, 3, 4 of them. Fawzi, why don't you do this on your own? Because they knew earlier we had a cooperation between several libraries, and they selected me to go and buy books on their behalf. It was successful in getting the books, but it was like nightmare financially. Some libraries didn't pay their bill, you know, they were late, and you know how the university works. They want their you know, the money back. I spent Harvard money on them, and they had to pay back. So that was a problem, and that's why they asked me to go myself on my own. At that time, I wanted to do it, but I went to Partington when I came back to Cambridge. I said, Chief, that's the always call them Chief. I say, Chief, what do you think if I start the book business? He said to me, no, to my surprise. I was very determined to do it for several reasons. At that time, I knew my friends at the faculty member, they would go anywhere. They do anything, nobody bothers them. I felt honestly as a pressure to keep librarian under the thumb of faculty or whatever. So I went to the personnel officers at the university. They told me you can do anything as long as you don't mix apples and oranges. I was so happy. And the other reason I wanted to do it at that time also, I was trying to establish Mundus Arabicus. And it's a literary periodical, big volumes. We published over 7 volumes or more. And every volume has bibliography in it. Every volume. This is Partington's an influence. You know what happened? David Partington, after we established Mundus Arabicus, he joined the editorial board with Professor Mehdi, with Professor Isa Bullata, with Professor Saleh Togma, with Heinrichs, all this. I was very, very astonished that they came all forward. At that time, they started looking at me, not only as a librarian, but also a colleague of theirs, which is a good feeling we should have. Librarians should be on that level. This was Partington's vision. He worked very hard to elevate the status of librarians to that of faculty. But the faculty, of course, it's a power play somehow. They look at librarians as in a lower rank than they are. Basically, because historically, they used to be the librarians, like Harvard Jewett, Professor Jewett, Professor Gabe Hamilton, and all. They were doing the library work and teaching. But then when the work was too much and number of students increased, they passed it to a specialist. And I think the first librarian at Harvard was Labib Zawiya Yamar, and he died tragically. So anyway, for all these reasons, I started Mundus Arabicus, and I started Dar Mahjar Incorporated. And the reason I did Dar Mahjar, really, it was not only for the above reasons, but also to give me a chance, you know, to liberate myself from the daily work, traveling to everywhere. So, and at the same time, David Partington allowed me to travel. Sometimes on behalf of my company, sometimes on behalf of the university. And I went to South America, I went to Argentina and Brazil, and collected a tremendous number of periodicals, whole run 40 years of Sharq, Al-Marahil, and then in Argentina, I made arrangement with Elias Consul and his brother Zeki Consul. He's a poet. They both are very famous. They edited a journal there, Al-Manahil. He gave Harvard all his collection as a gift. All. And he took me as a guest in his own apartment and went to live somewhere with his brother, Yusuf. They had a hardware store underneath his apartment. So these are the things that, you know, and I will read to you the bylaws as Partington and George Atiyah and others envisioned it. Just listen to this. I don't know, I honestly, to be very frank with you, before Mohammed asked me that question, I did not read it. When he asked me, I went and read it. I said, oh my God, I have been knowing all of that for MELA. Here is MELA's bylaws define the methods and ways to improve the profession of librarianship by facilitating communication and cooperating among members, by disseminating information and promoting research through acquisitions, preparing bibliographies, providing bibliographic control, and addressing matters affecting librarianship and librarians for the benefit of all. Don't forget that. And there is another thing they had. MELA is non-profit, non-political organization. We abided by that, and we had some few individuals wanted to take it out of that line. You know, there are some human issues and so on. But personally, I don't like politics. I have seen a lot of misery as a Turkmen in Kirkuk under the oppression of the governments, seen a lot of it, and I hate politics. So please keep that in mind. Don't be political organization or even do political things, because politics will take you up, another politics will crush you, will bring you down. It's no good. Focus on your profession. Focus on the great things you can do for the libraries, and it will be for yourself. Distinguish yourself through finding a way. I would love to see someone among you prepare an index of all the articles, all the people who worked at MELA all these years. But then again, Partington and George Atiyah would have never been successful without the help of other librarians, soldiers. Among them, Leslie Wilkins, Martha Dukas, she wrote the bylaws for MELA. And in the 10th year of the anniversary, I was standing the same way I'm standing here as a president of a chairman of Rob, praising Leslie Wilkins, who was sitting right in front of me. We were celebrating the 10th year. There are other people. Our friend at University of Michigan, John Iles, he worked very, very hard. And there were too many others I cannot even remember now, because I am animated and excited to talk about the past. Talking about the past takes me to the past. I feel like I was with them. And, you know, I love and I care for all these people, and I follow them until I reached a level where, especially after David Partington retired, I saw, you know, different atmosphere. It was not suitable for my peaceful way of living. So I had many, many choices. I left, and I'm still close to books. I love books. I write them. I read them. I pass them to a good one. But the bottom line here, in regard to book distributors, I had one thing in my mind, not financial side, but to serve the libraries. They selected me, they helped me, they supported me to keep selecting books in good quality for them. There are, for example, in Morocco, which I am specialized now, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, there are every year 1,500, 1,700 titles. How in the world do you know which one is which if you don't go there, sit and look at them? Meet the authors, read about them. I mean, you have to do something serious. I know there is no oversight in many libraries. They can buy anything they don't. In my time, I saw that because they invited me to go and examine their collection. I go there and check. I say, oh my God, you have some good books, a lot of books you don't need. You are supposed to serve your students and your faculty and have a room for newer trends to build on. This is the way you do it. You don't just buy books and store them in Southborough as Harvard started doing my time. I know at that time, I didn't want to be there. I honestly, in as much as I love Harvard and it has helped me a great deal. Anyway, I really don't want to, since you have the paper, you read it. But I want to just read to you as a conclusion, because I think I took too much time. I want to honor the people, the members of MELA who were with us, and they passed away. They were good people, they were leaders, and among them here is, a lot of you don't even know the name. His name is Latif Khayyat. He was working at New York Public Library. He was an Iraqi, but Jewish family, and he wrote 3 volumes, and he was always coming to 3 volumes of Iraqi proverbs, Jewish proverbs. And I helped him to distribute it. This guy, unfortunately, died young. So I want to honor his memory. And then Leslie Wilkins, Martha Dukas. She died, you know what? I call her on line of duty. She went to Cairo. I don't know, my Egyptian friends, how they survived in Cairo. She contracted a liver cancer, lung cancer there from all the fumes and pollution. And her immune system did not work for her. Anyway, and then Franklin Lanham at Columbia University, a wonderful, wonderful person. He is the one who hired our friend Peter Majersky. And then Fawzi Khoury. Fawzi Khoury was humorous and a wonderful person, but he was a political rascal. He, there are others like him. They always agitated, brought issues that really did not belong to MELA. MELA should think about what you are doing. And if you want to do anything political, do it on your own. Don't use the MELA as an umbrella for your activities. And then after Fawzi Khoury's University of Washington, we have David Giovacchini. David worked with me at Harvard for a while. He was before that at Princeton, somewhere else, and ended up in Stanford, and then went to UPenn. And he came with me, like other librarians, just to show them what it takes to select books. Just to learn from them what their university, what their students need. You don't need to buy 10,000 books, put them on the roof, and nobody will open them. I know this. We had a very large collection at Harvard. They did statistics. How much of this book have been used? Only 12%. Only 12%. This is, what about the 88%? Not used. Anyway, the other people I want to remember and honor is Edward Yacob. He was at Hoover Institution at the beginning and Yale, and he went to many places. He loved to move from one place to another. And Mohammed Suleiman, you don't know that Mohammed Suleiman is a real player in supplying American universities and other universities in Europe and stuff with Middle Eastern books. He had a small number of selected Egyptian books, but he is a leader. And to my surprise, Muhammad Suleiman worked for David Partington at Michigan University. We have to honor him. We have to remember him. And then there are others I forgot, which is George Atiyah, of course. He was one of the founders with Partington. And then today I heard, and I'm shocked, Bassem Bizergan also passed away. But this is absolutely very sad. You know, for people like me, I'm going to laugh my way out of this life. There is no other way. You know, I watch all these young people grow up and, you know, I watch my own family. I see my grandchildren growing up. Time to go, but at least we can laugh. And if you can do that, go for it. Thank you so much, and God bless you all. Does that take too much time?
No, it was perfect. Stay with me. So Fawzi, the executive board wanted to give you this certificate to thank you for all of your contributions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. One thing.
Microphone, Fawzi.
Microphone.
Microphone.
Oh, one thing I forgot to tell you. To honor David Partington for all he did, I was the one who established the funds for his prize. And I suggested that to Leslie Wilkins, and she created the fund. So it is worth getting that. And I am so delighted to hear that some librarians get the certificate and put it on the wall in their rooms. That is very gratifying and very pleasing to hear. I haven't seen it yet, but I hear about it. Yeah, thank you so much. God bless you. Yeah, thank you. I'll treasure this.
Question.
Yes.
If I may.
Oh, you want to ask questions? Sure.
I need to ask just one question.
Okay.
You being in my position 40 years ago when it was 10 years of MELA, and now you are here for the 50th anniversary. What are the differences you see between now and then?
To be very honest, and frank, I really feel stranger here. You are all in automation, technology, and you know, it's a different world. And I know William and other friends, they came to teach me how to do mark wrappers. I refuse. They don't understand why, because I worked at Harvard so hard, and in a time there was no agronomics. You have to be careful about this. Computer is a wonderful tool. The same way MELA is a wonderful tool for you. But too much of it will create problems. I left Harvard for another reason, good one, got sick. 2 years, 4 years of treatment, shots, deep shots in the neck to release the stuff. You know, we were working without thinking much. Loyalty, you know, work hard. This is how it was for us. There's no doubt. Makes you feel good. That's, I say, when you do something good for people, you are doing it for yourself, not for me, because it will make you feel good. It's like music. You listen to it, enjoy it without, you know, things like that. Anyway, do you have any other questions? I'll be glad to answer. Good. So I did my job.